My brother and I, being raised on a family farm, southeast corner of the county here, we knew that in order to keep 300 acres in family production, we would need to do something weird or different, or it'd just be a part-time job. So we decided a long time ago it'd be really cool if we could grow specialty crops, short circuit the market, cut out the middleman, vertically integrate, and bring it all the way to the end consumer. It became clear to us that whenever there's an opportunity to work with the university, we should jump at it. You know, being a land-grant college, it's also kind of in their DNA to help business and even more so agriculture. Because we're the farmer and the brewer, we're able to really be a good resource for them when they think they've got new ideas in breeding. We're giving them some input on, here are some characteristics that we like to see in brewing grains. We're allowing them to do some demo plot use out here at the brewery, which is driving some interest. The really special type of low oil brewing corn that we use back there in the brewery is a product of the U of I's breeding program. We've also worked with the food science department. They've started a fermentation science course, and it's been great for us because it allows us to go into IBRL, the really nice facility there on campus, brew some really small batches of beer with some students, and then leverage the university's lab analysis capabilities to help us answer some questions that our humble little lab here in the brewery could never answer. And then I think just word spreads organically. Probably some of the faculty and staff that like to come out here and have a beer, and maybe I serve them a beer sometime. We start the conversation. It just kind of gradually snowballed into a really tight relationship where we've got like a dozen threads of collaboration. And you know, this time next year it'll probably be more. Sustainability, you know, as an overarching concept has been important to us since before we started. Obviously we've got a really large on-site solar array, but one of the pieces that maybe the common consumer of our product doesn't realize is that, you know, that beer's grown. And there are a lot of practices that we can implement that can limit the environmental impact of growing that beer. So what happens if we don't apply any nitrogen? How bad is that going to hurt our yield? And what's it going to do for the quality of the brewing grain? We're finding that the amount of nitrogen that red clover fixes in the soil is much greater than soybean stubble. None of this is official research at this point, but it's fun to do on a small scale, and it helps kind of prove which concepts we can adopt and champion as like, hey, production agriculture scale viable, and which ones we can only get away with because it's here at the brewery, and so there's a little bit of wiggle room there. If the consumer were to shift their behavior and say, hey, I want to consume products that were grown more sustainably, then overnight, 99% of acres in the entire United States would shift to that type of production. The consumer holds all the power. I think we got to coach the consumer like, hey, please force me to do a practice that is more sustainable. Pay me what I need to be paid in order to incentivize me. That's not going to happen overnight. So what can we do in the meantime? Prepare for it. Fuel costs are not coming down. Nitrogen costs also tied very much with that. Do what you can now to start figuring out how you can reduce those inputs. Be experimental, but also be skeptical. Like, take a small corner of a field and try something. And what's the worst that can happen? It's not going to make or break your year for you. One of the best reasons I have for hope is a program called STAR that was started here locally by the Soil and Water Conservation District here in Champaign County. The things that the STAR program incentivize or reward farmers for doing with points are things that every farmer in Champaign County or the Midwest could implement. The brilliance of the STAR program is that it's a very easily understood rating on how well a farmer is doing at conserving the resources. And you could put that on a box of cereal tomorrow. This box of cornflakes was produced with only 5-star farming practices. Just like in the brewery. I'm not trying to sell the cheapest beer possible because that would bankrupt my brewery. I wouldn't be able to pay anybody anything. I wouldn't be able to take care of my equipment. That's a race to the bottom. I've got to be able to have a story to communicate to the consumer that it's worth it. And farmers need to be advocating for that. We need to be advocating for, please place value on my farm and our products. I would say a good way to wade into the pool of regenerative agriculture, to test the water, stick your toe in, would be plant winter wheat. Try double crop. It's not as scary as it sounds. I don't know why there's not more acres of it right now. You got 4 or 5 months of just runoff of soil and nutrients that could be mitigated with winter wheat. I promise you will have wheat to harvest, and the elevator will pay you a fair price for it. It's kind of like a cover crop, but it's a cash crop. It's a good way for you to build confidence in the system. Every generation has changed the landscape. Since my great-great-grandfather, started farming in southeast Champaign County in 1874, the landscape changed in his generation. Each one has changed. There used to be livestock on our farm. There's no livestock there anymore. We used to grow oats. There's no oats there anymore. So don't be afraid of the change. The change is gonna happen. What do you think you've done, or all the generations before you've done? This ain't prairie. And even if my grandpa came here and looked at these fields, he'd be like, holy cow, that's a 200-acre field of corn, and there's no windbreak, and there's no cattle. So we've always changed the landscape, and our generation will be no different. The next generation will be no different. Just make sure the changes you're making have a long-term vision associated with them.